Zohran Mamdani appears to be in a neck-and-neck race with Gavin Newsom for who can ruin a major American city in record time. The incoming New York City mayor is now assembling his inner circle. You know, the people who actually run the government, the ones who shape policy, control access, make the phone calls, and whisper in his ear when the cameras are off. Well, guess what? Zohran has reportedly tapped a criminal for his transition team. Not a consultant, not a fixer with some baggage, an actual person with a record. See, this is the moment when politics is supposed to get serious, when the campaign chaos ends and the adult supervision is supposed to walk right into the room. But according to the reporting, background checks apparently took a backseat to vibes. As always, like the video and subscribe if you're new here, because someone has to keep the receipts, right? Hey, by the way, if you're still hunting for the perfect holiday gift, don't forget to check out the Kerri Lane Show. I just got my mug. I love it. Perfect mug, perfect size, has a little bit of weight to it, which I love in a mug. And let's be honest, common sense news is something everybody could use more of these days. The link is down below if you're interested. Now, before we get to our main story, I had to show you this real quick. President Trump was back in his happy place last night on the campaign trail. And wow, he was on fire. He went straight at Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, accusing her of marrying her brother to get into the country. A claim that's been disputed for years, but one he says would be illegal and grounds for deportation.
I love her. She comes in, does nothing but she's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing. They have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country, and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother.
For 5 years, we've listened to the accusation that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get into our country. Yet there's been no investigation, nothing, until now. Tom Homan says one of the top fraud investigators is taking this head on.
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitations became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up. Who was president? Who ran DOJ? So pulling the records now, pulling the files, and we're looking at, but this fraud investigator, who I know personally, one of the best fraud investigators in HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, said there's no doubt he reviewed the file. So I'm running that down this week, matter of fact, and we'll see.
And this right here, this is the marriage certificate that has been at the center of this controversy for years. That document is why this story never fully went away. If there's nothing there, then fine, let's clear it publicly. And if there is something there, the American people deserve the truth and demand action. In fact, even Charlie Kirk was raising red flags about Ilhan Omar back in 2020, writing, quote, "Did you know Ilhan Omar's campaign is on track to pay her husband's consulting firm $1.16 million in 2020 last year, while she was having an affair with her new husband. She paid his firm $523K. How is this legal? She's funneling money back into her own pockets. Investigate." Now, speaking of fraud, one last headline before we get to Zohran. Democrat State Representative Sharon Henderson of Georgia, she's now been arrested and indicted for pandemic unemployment fraud.
She is accused of illegally collecting pandemic benefits, and you're taking a look at Sharon Henderson. Federal investigators arrested her today. They say she collected nearly $18,000 in unemployment benefits using false information. Federal prosecutors say this happened while Henderson was a political candidate and later while serving in office. They believe she first applied for pandemic unemployment benefits in June 2020. At the time, she was running for a state house seat and claimed she was unemployed because Henry County schools had closed. Prosecutors say that information was false. They say she'd not worked for the school system since briefly serving as a substitute teacher in 2018, and that her employment agreement specifically said substitutes were not eligible for unemployment pay.
According to the indictment, Henderson continued certifying weekly unemployment benefits until mid-2021, including 8 filings after she was sworn into office as a state representative for her district. Prosecutors say she collected just under $18,000 in benefits that she was not entitled to. And let's not kid ourselves. I mean, this fraud isn't limited to Minnesota and Georgia. In fact, I would welcome investigations right here in my home state of California. My guess, there is plenty of fraud to keep prosecutors fed for a very long time. In any normal world, a criminal past is a red flag. But in this political universe, apparently, it just appears to be a resume booster for Democrats. New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, he has chosen to appoint a convicted armed robber to be on his City Hall transition team. Meet my son Lennon. He served 7 years in prison for armed robberies of New York City tax drivers. Prosecutors say he beat one of the victims with a glass bottle and held another at gunpoint while he and his accomplices stole cash and jewelry. He was offered a 1-year plea deal. He rejected it, went to trial, and the jury convicted him anyway, resulting in a 7-year sentence. Court records even say the victims positively identified him, although he still denies the crimes. But on the bright side for Mamdani's supporters, maybe he hired him for tips on how he could rob the rich so he can afford the free handouts for his supporters.
We put together a team of more than 400 New Yorkers who are on 17 different committees. And these are New Yorkers who bring with them both a fluency of the policies and politics of the city, the places that they've succeeded, the places that they've failed. And we will take all of their experiences and their analysis into account as we build a city for each and every person.
Maybe next he can hire the mafia to oversee the city's gambling regulations. I mean, if you ask Jasmine Crockett about all this, she's just going to tell you, just because you commit a crime doesn't mean you're a criminal.
I understood what was kind of pushing them there. And so I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different. Being a criminal is more so about your mindset. Committing a crime can come for a lot of different reasons.
Right. And if I rob a bank, I'm not a robber. I'm just financially spontaneous. And just so we are all living in reality, Merriam-Webster defines a criminal as, get ready, a person who is guilty of a crime. Case closed here on the Kerri Lane Show. And you know what else is a crime? Interfering with ICE. But Zohran, he's piling on even more dangerous rhetoric with this message he just put out.
We can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights.
If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you.
So again, when politicians send messages that encourage breaking our immigration laws, it emboldens people to act illegally. And that creates a dangerous, hostile work environment for not only ICE officers, but for the illegal immigrants themselves. Kristi Noem had a message of her own for the soon-to-be mayor. Watch this.
Mayor, if he were mayor, could be violating the Constitution by giving advice on how to evade law enforcement and how to get away with breaking the law. It's really unbelievable in this country what we're seeing. Those ICE agents that you were referencing, the violent attacks that have increased against them to 1,200%, death threats against them are at 8,000%. These politicians, if they don't like the law, then go frickin' change it. Go change the law. That's your job.
But don't hold your breath on Democrats actually changing immigration law. I mean, if they passed sensible reforms, they'd have nothing left to complain about. They could have done this while Joe Biden was in office, but instead, they're perfectly content to create drama for political gain rather than solve problems for the American people. Case in point, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who thinks Zohran Mamdani's antics prove she can win a Senate seat in deep red Texas.
Let me tell you something. Mandani has not backed down whatsoever from his rhetoric against the president. In the Oval Office, he stood there and he said what he said about him being a fascist, yet he was able to win those voters. So Democrats that believe the only way that you can win is by being soft and sounding like a Republican, that is not true. What people are looking for are people that are tough and are fighters.
Well, her Texas Senate strategy? Pure performance art, as we would expect from a Democrat. Step 1, announce your campaign with a very weird, moody video, staring off into the distance while Donald Trump's roasts of her play in dramatic music. No constituents, no policy, no Texas imagery, just, he called me mean names, so I deserve to be a senator type energy.
Crockett. Oh, man, oh, man.
She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Bizarre, right? So weird. I mean, why would anybody want to remind voters of why some think you failed? Her only strategy is obviously the sympathy card. Donald Trump was mean to me, so I deserve to fight for you. Even CNN's Jake Tapper was completely puzzled by this video.
Your official announcement is just a video of you, an image of you, while insults of President Trump of you play in the background. Why that decision? I mean, one of your opponents, Tallarico, he had a video, him with constituents, him with Texans. Why you solo?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Number one, I wanted to do something different. Because number one, in order to flip the state of Texas, we're going to have to do something that we've never done. So I wanted to stay on brand with the fact that we would be different. I also wanted people to understand who the president sees as a real threat, and it is me.
Newsflash, Trump does not see you as a threat. But hey, go ahead and flatter yourself with those lies. Dustin Olson, he's a pollster and a strategist, and he says Crockett has no path to victory in Texas.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she says she's running for U.S. Senate. Dustin, do you think she has a chance in my state of Texas?
I would love to tell you that she does, just so we can have this gift that keeps on giving throughout the year. She's Christmas comes early with her, so she doesn't have a shot at the big game, but she will have a shot at winning the primary, and I think we can all look forward to that. It will be a good show. There's one thing, I don't think she's maybe the brightest member of Congress. However, she knows one big thing is that you have to get attention in order to persuade people, and we're going to see her saying lots of crazy stuff to get a lot of attention, and it's going to be a good show.
She certainly knows how to get attention, but I'm not sure it's going to be for the right reasons. I mean, some Democrats, they're even worried about Jasmine Crockett's electability in Texas. Shocking. Maybe it's because of the things that come out of her mouth, which Tapper, he did actually hold her accountable for. But of course, she says, that's not what I said, right after he reads her quote verbatim.
In a December 2024 Vanity Fair profile, you talked about, quote, and I'm going to read a lot of the quote just to put it in the context, quote, all the complexities within the Latino community. The immigration thing has always been something that has perplexed me about this community. It's basically like, I fought to get here, but I left y'all where I left y'all, and I want no more y'all to come here. If I wanted to be with y'all, I would stay with y'all, but I don't want y'all coming to my new home. It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. Now, about the time that was published last year, around 1 million Latino voters in Texas were voting for Trump. Do they all have slave mentality?
No, and that's not what that said at all, to be clear. It did not say that every Latino has that type of mentality.
No, but the ones that vote for people who believe in strong or Trump's immigration policies.
So I don't believe that the people that voted for Trump believe in what they're actually getting.
Actually, those who voted for Trump support his immigration efforts. Some might even argue he hasn't gone far enough. But Crockett, she thinks it's fine to insult Trump voters because, according to her, she doesn't need them.
How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump supporters. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to.
Yeah, good luck running statewide in a red state with that attitude. I mean, it looks like she's trying to take the Katie Porter strategy. Remember this?
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election? Yes.
And that did not end well for her. That went viral. And Donald Trump, he won Texas by 14 points. So for Jasmine Crockett to say she doesn't need Trump voters proves just how out of touch she really is. And if you want to be in Washington, I mean, a basic requirement should be that you pledge to fight for all Americans, not just those who look like you. But Crockett, she's making it very clear who her priority is. And now she's even entertaining bizarre ideas that she heard from a celebrity.
One of the things that they propose is black folk not have to pay taxes for a certain amount of time, because then again, that puts money back in your pocket. But at the same time, it may not be as objectionable to some people about actually giving out dollars. But obviously then you start dealing with the different tax brackets and things like that. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, we argue the reparations make sense, because so many black folk, not only do you owe for the labor that was stolen and killed and all the other things, right? But the fact is, like, we end up being so far behind.
Wait, hold it. When she says you owe for the labor that was stolen, who's you? Certainly not me. I've never been involved in slavery, nor has any of my family as far back as I can trace. And why on earth would anyone give a tax break to someone who never personally experienced slavery? This is just another racist Democrat policy. And of course, the same person who says you owe is also the same person who insists just because you commit a crime doesn't mean you're a criminal. Make that make sense. Now, Republicans absolutely thrilled she has entered the race. Here's Mike Johnson's response this morning. He was a little too giddy over this one.
I'm absolutely delighted that Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate in Texas. I think it's one of the greatest things that's happened to the Republican Party in a long, long time. She is the face of the Democratic Party, she and Mamdani. Good luck with that. I want her to have the largest, loudest microphone that she can every single day.
She really is the gift that keeps on giving for the Republican Party. I mean, according to Change Research, Ken Paxton, he currently holds an 8-point lead over Jasmine Crockett in Texas. Honestly, I think that lead should probably be double, maybe even triple. But we'll see. I mean, every time Crockett opens her mouth, runs a campaign strategy, or entertains the latest celebrity-backed policy idea, she's basically doing the work for her opposition for them. It's like watching a political TikTok that refuses to end. It's chaotic, confusing, and somehow still boosting the other team. So congratulations, Democrats. If your goal was to hand Republicans the microphone and the narrative on a silver platter, consider your mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Ken Paxton, he can probably just sit back, sip his coffee, maybe out of his Kerri Lane mug, and watch the circus unfold. All right, up next, an alarming video you have to see to believe. A Somali man claims his community's partial takeover plan is already complete, and now he says they're moving on to the next phase, a complete takeover of the United States of America. But that's not all. Wait until you hear what he has to say about President Trump and the promise he makes to the president's children. You're not going to want to miss this. It will send chills up your spine. Go ahead, click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.